Given the momentous Indo-Pak occasion, it is fitting to invoke this book, Pundits from Pakistan, which is about India's tour to Pakistan in 2003-2004.
The book has travel writing, match reports, wit, social commentary, introspectively autobiographical parts, and it is consistently engaging.
It is the best-known Indian cricket book over the last few years, and here we meet its author, Rahul Bhattacharya.
To say that I studied would be maybe pushing the case, but I managed to graduate in pure mathematics from St. Xavier's College in Bombay. And I don't know how that happened, but the years of college was sort of pretty wasteful. And the only memorable thing, or the only thing which gave me any motivation through my years in college, was playing for the cricket team. I didn't have any ambition of being a cricket journalist till the point that, or a writer for that matter, or anything, till the point that it was pretty close to my final year of graduation and of the final exams, and there was a new magazine on the market which was Cricket Talk, brought up by Ayaz Memon and Mark Mascarenhas, and they had like a whole bunch of big names working for them. Once I grew in that job, I realized that actually what I find is really keeping me going here is the writing and the traveling as much as the cricket.
Here is an excerpt from the book, which is about Abdul Qadir and his son Usman.
Usman was clearly the apple of his father's eye. He is test player. Haan, pakki baat, inshallah. I think he can become better than me. He has everything. Look, he wakes up at 7 and goes to school and studies till 4 in the evening. Then he comes here and jogs around the ground. Look at the size of this ground. Then he starts practicing. He bowls, he bats. I start to worry sometimes, but he just does it. Everything he does on his own. He just needs a little guidance. जब मशीन चालू नहीं होती तब जंक्शन डब्बे में तेल शेल लगाते हैं, बस वैसे. He planted another kiss on Usman as he finished. So beautiful, so fair, just like his mother, not like his father.
We had a monthly magazine, which is sadly no longer, but which is Wisden Asia Cricket, so which had the space for long interviews and long features. I toured with India, or I covered them at home. I did interviews with players. I did observation pieces, color pieces, match reportage. I did lengthy interviews as well. That's what I did for 3 years. I was sort of prepared through my working life to write something like Pundit.
Here's a description of a moment during a one-day match in the series.
Irfan began his work on Johanna. Johanna is blessed with wonderful hands but tends to play around his front pad, coming down on the stroke from a wide backlift. This can lead to a tangle against a left arm over the wicket swing bowler, whose natural angle slants the ball across, but the swing brings it back in. Locally, I was told, the word for this tangle is kainchi, scissor, which beautifully sums up the motion of the deceived. The front foot coming out, the bat flapping across it, the upper body overbalancing towards off. Irfan hunted for that kainchi. With the second ball of his 5th over, he thought he had succeeded, but he had pitched it marginally outside leg. 2 balls later, he had Johanna groping once more, but now he had started too wide and struck the pad outside off. And the one after that, Irfan hit the spot. LBW. Scissored left, scissored right, scissored center. So naked Johanna must have felt.
I covered it for The Guardian and they invited me to write an Indian view. So I went there and I was like completely excluded from the Indian press group at all. Completely. Wouldn't call me for any, like if there was an India media interaction or anything. I was pretty young then. I was sort of 24 when the tour happened, at 25 when the book came out. I didn't go with the commission and I didn't go with the idea of definitely writing a tour book. The limitations of my experience and my knowledge made it actually easier for me to write because I didn't know better, I didn't know more. All the reading I had done on cricket over the last 5 or 10 years, even before joining the profession, that came in handy. I did read a few other tour books that I could get my hands on. I didn't actually plan to write this book. I had work to do on the tour. I was reporting on matches, I was collecting feature materials and all of that. Whatever's in Pundits is an expression of that at a slower pace with a wider canvas, yet but with a sort of momentum which lets you build up through a tour like that. When you write for magazines, when you write for websites, you necessarily have to contain your narrative to what has happened till that point.
Yeah.
Whereas here, when you write at the end of a tour and you're building up everything that sort of leads from one thing to the other to right at the end, and you know how it's all ended, you can sort of use some of those elements and build a sort of bigger narrative.
This is about a unique Pakistani phenomenon, tape ball cricket.
The more I reflected on it, the more tape ball cricket seemed to me one of the remarkable indigenous stories in cricket, particularly given the scale. Most indigenous processes tend to be personal. Bradman honing his skills by hitting a golf ball with a stump, or Sunny Ramadeen spinning fruits while working the fields, hadn't prompted entire nations to follow. Nor might that have met with success. But tape ball cricket was everywhere in Pakistan. On mud, on grass, on cement, on guttered footpaths, in residential colonies, in gymkhanas, in parking lots, in private lawns, in farmland, in informal dust-ups, in organized tournaments, in cities, towns, villages, and all else in between. Any cricket in Pakistan not with a cricket ball was with a tape ball.
And cricket is a great, it's actually a gift for the writer, being the kind of sport it is, because it gives you so many avenues to sort of look at personality and human behavior. It allows you to travel for extended periods of time, not just get into a place one day and come back the next day, but tours which last 2 months and 3 months and all of that thing. So I think it sort of suits the writing sensibility and helps people it helps writers to be writers rather than just cricket reporters. What other form of art or sport do you get to see one person for 6 hours?
This is when Shoaib Akhtar ran into Virender Sehwag at Multan.
The game, in case it was not apparent by now, was running away from Pakistan. At slip, the only slip, Inzamam stood slouched, legs apart, index finger on lips, furrow on brow. He threw the ball to Shoaib for a short burst before tea. Sehwag responded with a straight drive of the back foot to his second ball, a classic stroke played with a dangling diagonal bat. Mr. Wrong. Later he picked it as his favorite shot of the day. It was also a stroke that immensely instigated Shoaib. He began to hurl bouncers and only bouncers. He went round the wicket and aimed them at Sehwag's body. He taunted him and hissed at him and gestured at him. Flat pitch, hot sun, 220 for 2. The Express needed something to stir the blood. Again and again he asked Sehwag to go after the bouncer, perhaps more than that. Word is that Sehwag at one point called out aloud, "Ye bowling kar raha hai ki ye bheek mang raha hai?" Is this guy bowling or begging? Word is that giggles arose from the fieldsmen.
Cricket I'm so grateful to it because it took me to the West Indies as well, which was my first cricket tour ever as a 22-year-old. It's a chance I would have never got were I not a cricket writer. And for example, Guyana was a place which really stayed with me. And I went back there to do that book. And so what I'm saying is that my writerly ambitions have been sort of not been formed from an early age. I never thought of myself as someone who's going to grow up and become a writer. They've sort of come along the way.
This is about the author's feelings on being in Pakistan all alone.
All around the Katakats thundered in the Lahore late night, and in between the warring sounds, the white bright lights, the tingling aromas, the utter life of the night, I felt fully that I was here, that it meant something to be here. And I felt a surge of happiness, a new thrill, an alive joy, the cusp of discovery, and the strains of a wistful nostalgia, borne out by no personal attachments, no personal memories, no personal reference points, a second-hand kind of nostalgia. Wistfulness, I suppose, more than nostalgia, and one which was then very hard to shake off.
I want to move in other directions.
Okay.
And I feel it's reached a stage where doing cricket writing and then being asked to do only more cricket writing is almost sort of stunting my growth, and that's worrying me. And I also find it very difficult to keep up with the cricket now. And I don't watch as much limited overs cricket as I should as somebody who writes in cricket. I watch a lot of test cricket, but overall my sort of my capacity to consume cricket and cricket's capacity to offer itself to us, which has become so much, are not quite as tight a fit as it used to be.
Rahul Bhattacharya is fundamentally a writer who just happened to write his first book on cricket.
And a serious writer at that, who would actually go and spend a whole year in Guyana to understand his milieu for his next book.
Let's hope he comes back to cricket again sometime.